Hellfest was directed by Gregory Plotkin, the man behind Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, and this film follows a bunch of teenagers who go to a famous traveling theme park called Hellfest, known for its horrifying haunted houses. And once there, they discover a serial killer is on the loose, blending in with the crowd. His victims not being discovered at first because everyone just thinks they're part of the scenery. This is a great concept, although not 100% original. There's been a few films that have used a similar story before, but I was excited to see what this film could be, and I left very disappointed because unfortunately, despite its concept, it follows the basic formula and rules of just about every slasher since the 1980s. And for some people, that's going to be fine. I think your enjoyment of this movie is going to depend on how forgiving you are of horror films, or how much you would love to see slashers return to the theaters, because as of late, slasher films have been mostly relegated to VOD or straight to television. So it's nice to see one in theaters because, as most of you know, I fucking love horror movies, and I love this subgenre as well. Every Halloween, I get really excited about movies like this. This is basically my favorite time of year. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to just say, well, this film was okay enough, or they knew what they were doing, or it was self-aware, or it doesn't try to be anything that it isn't. Because to me, those are all just excuses to create a very lazy film. From the get-go, you get a great paycheck and you just follow the rules of every other horror film you've seen before, and you make another one just change the setting. Because that's all this film really does. It seems like the most effort was given to the sets, the haunted houses, the costume design, and a use of extras for creating a park that feels like it's alive and that people are really going there. When it comes to the story, when it comes to the characters, there's really no effort given at all. When the film ended, I struggled to really remember anything about any of the people in it, and you don't really learn anything about them. It's not that I go to films like this expecting that, but it would certainly make it more enjoyable if I kind of cared if they were going to get out of a frightening situation. That's all I really want in a horror film like this, is just enough. You just want enough to care about these characters. And really, this film seems to take that route where everyone just wants to talk about sex, drugs, and what they're doing in college, or who they like or who they have a crush on. And eventually it gets to a point where you just are so annoyed with the characters that you don't really mind that they're being killed off, which is another tactic that horror directors and writers use as well. That idea of making us dislike everyone we're watching, and so we start to root for the bad guy, like Michael Myers or Jason. We want to see them kill these people because we can't stand them. And unfortunately, that's the route this film takes. The film also has one of the most glaring goofs I've seen in a really long time that was only made worse because my wife and I just got back from vacation, and we actually went to Horror Nights in Orlando, Florida at Universal Studios. And we did nothing but go to haunted houses. And it was really fun. We went to the Trick or Treat house, the Halloween 4 house, Poltergeist, the Stranger Things house. It was great. But our experiences at those haunted houses made me look at this film considerably differently than if I hadn't have just experienced a bunch of real haunted houses. One of the biggest problems with this movie is the setup for Hellfest. It's described early on as this park that is so popular that tickets sold out within minutes, and the only way they even got to go to Hellfest is because a friend of theirs, who maybe has a crush on the lead character, got them VIP badges, paid a lot of money to get these VIP badges. And that's what my wife and I actually did for Horror Nights. We got the express badges so that we could skip the line and go through the express line because we only had a few days and we wanted to hit as much as we can. And so what I couldn't help but notice as I watched this movie is that the only characters who are ever in these haunted houses are the leads. They go inside and they just wander around touching everything. And no one else is behind them, no one's in front of them. It's just the lead characters in the haunted houses, which is so unrealistic, especially if this park is so popular that the tickets sold out within minutes. There should be people all over that haunted house, and yet somehow they have the whole place to themselves. The only excuse the film's story has for this is by suggesting that by them having a VIP badge, that no one else can enter the haunted house but them, which is just ludicrous. If the park is that popular, they would never just let 4 or 5 random teenagers in the entire haunted house alone for like 10, 15 minutes while everyone else just waits in line, giving them a 1-star rating on Google. That would never happen. It was just so obvious that once they had the lead characters in these sets, they didn't want to pay for any extras or any other actors who might also be in there with them. But also, that would ruin the illusion of their entire film, because once this guy starts killing off people inside these houses, all they would have to do is reach out to one of the other guests and say, like, hey, help me, or hey, call the police. Also, in real haunted houses, especially ones that are as popular as the one depicted in this movie, there's usually a staff worker at every major turn to make sure everything's fine. I just couldn't get over how unrealistic the setup for this movie was. And I know that the majority of the audience who watches this film is not going to care about any of that. But if you've ever gone to a lot of haunted houses, or especially if you've ever worked in one, you're just going to be rolling your eyes every single time something happens in this film because it's just so unrealistic. All that being said, there are a few effective kills, some really gory kills, although they are definitely attributing other things. There's one that is absolutely a tribute to Halloween 2, the original Halloween 2. If you would like a little more from your horror films like me, and you expect more out of them because you know what they can do, this probably is not going to impress you. I'm going to give Hellfest a D+. These are the types of concepts that I would like to see a remake of. It'll never happen, probably. We're just going to get more remakes of Halloween or Friday the 13th. I would like to see a remake of Hellfest, because this is an amazing concept. And if given to a better filmmaker and a much better writer, by the way, this was written by multiple people, I feel like this movie could be a lot better. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. Thank you very much, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.